Hello, everybody. Welcome to my weekly Meltdowns coverage of the premiere of Survivor 45. Allison is on rescuing kitten duty once again, and Beth is not feeling too well. So I just wanted to give a quick thank you, shout out to Nate, aka Nicotine Withdrawal, as his name suggests, for stepping in last minute. Nate, I can always count on you to just like nerd out with me for an hour. So I can't wait to break it all down. How you doing?
I'm doing great. As Tyler knows, that I recently got engaged because he was my photographer for it. There she is back there. Yes. But everything's been going good, and I'm excited for this season. 90 minutes is great. I'm waiting to see when we're getting the opening credits finally, but
I'm surprised we didn't get that tonight.
Yeah, I honestly hope that they just let Russell Lindell just go all out with the music this season, because we've had, 6 seasons since we've had it.
Wait, have they confirmed that they're hiring him again? Because I remember they, didn't they fire him or let him go, I want to say season 33, Millennials versus Gen X was the last one that he produced, right?
I don't know if they actually did or not. I just think that I just used him as a placeholder for whoever's in charge of that. Just go nuts, make it a little different. Come on, just give it some personality,
Yeah. So. Also, this is the first time I will say I agree with Hai from Survivor 42 on anything. But on Twitter, he was like, "What about our intro sequences for seasons 41 through 44?" And I agree. Give us those as well.
They're not difficult to produce. It literally takes 2 hours. Just
right. You could even just rip off a YouTube knockoff fan version that somebody makes. It's not that hard. Survivor producers, please, just for consistency, and I think the casts deserve it. But so before we get into the thick of it, I just wanted to say hello to everybody in the chat. So we have Thomas Cook, Joseph Boza, Samuel S, RD Cobb RX, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, and Heather Jean and Kylan. So hello to everybody. Oh my gosh, what a premiere, but also what a premiere.
It wasn't that bad. I don't think this is the worst premiere we've ever had, but it was at least.
What would you say is the worst premiere we've ever had?
Oh geez. I would say probably Exile Islands was pretty bad. I know that ended in a blindside, but a lot of that first episode was just not great. I think Cook Islands wasn't remarkable. There's a lot of the teens I think had very lackluster premieres comparatively to what we've had since postseason 25. But I think that has largely to do with the fact that production kind of knows now what they're doing with a premiere at the very minimum. So yeah, that's probably has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, that's true. There's growing pains in the teen years. We've been through them all, but we're here 45 seasons later, and okay, so I want to first mention that finally we get a contestant from Baltimore, my hometown, and she ends up being a freaking quitter. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm gonna pull a TJ Lavin here and say if you didn't think you were cut out for Survivor, you shouldn't have auditioned. You shouldn't have said yes when they said are you sure a million times. I just have no sympathy for that, especially when there are so many people that it is literally their dream to be playing Survivor, and you lasted only 3 days. If that, right? I don't know the time cycles for the new modern.
Even Jeff looked shocked, and Jeff has come out on record and says they can usually weed out people that they think are high quitting likeliness, and they've gone on record and said, this person that quit, we had a good idea they probably would, and they ended up doing it, but we put them on anyway because of this specific scenario. And for what it looked like, it didn't look like that scenario came up with concerning specifically Hannah. So I just think that it was shocking. I think honestly the nicotine withdrawal probably had a lot to do with it. If you're going to go on to Survivor and you're not kicking a vice or an addiction like that, you need to consider it, because usually it does not end well. I mean, the person most notable for having a nicotine addiction that went on Survivor was Shane Powers. And he was a mess.
That's true. Yeah, but he stuck it out, right? And for longer than she would have played.
He should not have been psychologically cleared. Like,
right.
He threatened to kill someone. Like, what?
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. But God, like, I feel like this is just like the start of just like what is going to be our like hot mess express tribe of the season. Right?
I don't mind a mess. Honestly, I kind of have been missing a messy tribe like this because we've had two tribes like we've had a couple tribes since New Era started where they're like just constantly going to tribal, but like they weren't messy. They were generally good players and they had like a good idea of what to do. None of them wanted to quit. This was just like, it was a goddamn they decided to just burn down everything.
It's crazy. Like we have like Hannah who like actually quit, like Brandon like who can't like get himself up on a ladder in the marooning.
I have ways to support Brandon for that, but like continue.
Gosh, we have what else do we have? Emily, like I am so glad that like my first like preseason impression of Emily. Yes, she's fantastic TV, but holy moly, this girl does not hold back whatsoever. So we're like at the marooning, like Jeff like gives like Bruce his flowers for like returning and like not whacking his head open immediately when the game starts. And Emily on the mat in front of everybody is like, well, like I feel like you can say you don't have an advantage, but you really do. So like I just felt like that was such a weird call to like call him out like that in front of everybody before like Jeff even says like game on, let's go.
If anything, she was doing Bruce a favor by doing that, really. Like
that's true. That's a good point.
Yeah. That's just not smart to do. Like just if you want to go into your tribe and be like, yeah, like privately within your own tribe and be like, yeah, I think he's full of crap, like don't do it in front of everybody. Everyone's like, oh, Bruce has an enemy now. I can use Bruce as a shield, and that enemy's very loud. So Bruce is a great shield for me, and that's just gonna help him. So like Bruce is already a big dude. So it's just like
Right. And then of course, like we like another instance of like Hannah like just being a little paranoid, being a little crazy. So like and we'll talk through the what's it called? The stronger savvy or whatever, sweat versus savvy. And we saw both of the tribes like they didn't win. And literally like they're not even off the boat, Sabaya and Caleb. And Emily's already like, oh, yep, see, like, I think they got an advantage instead of, like, losing it. I think they're lying. And good on Sean for taking, like, that and, like, just going right to Sabaya and being like, girl, listen, like, she's, like, already talking shit about you. I'm just going to be honest with you. I felt like that was a great way to, like, build trust. But, man, Emily is just so, like, she's just a spitfire. I don't know.
I think if Emily had just stuck to calling Bruce out, I think she would have had a lot more allies. But when you're that insufferable a day into the game, you're just like, okay, I don't want to deal with you for the entire game. Like, I can't. Like, it's just, like, it's, as soon as she started, like, just poo-pooing on everything the tribe was doing and how everyone was like, yeah, she's like offering criticism, but like no actual like way to improve things. I'm like, yeah, that's why I wouldn't want to work with her, because she would just shoot down everything as a stupid idea, and I don't want to work with that.
Right. So I guess my question is like, so say like the yellow tribe like goes back to tribal council, like,
oh, she's
do they well, I was gonna say, do they take out Emily, or is like Brandon such a like a physical like detriment to their tribe that like maybe they need to like nix him next? What do you think?
I think when in this specific format of Survivor, where it's 3 tribes like this and the game is so fast paced, you're not really concerned about physical prowess long term. It's not going to really matter, especially when there's been consistently 6 tribals pre-merge. So if you lose 2, you're probably going to lose a third one. And Brandon is the third loss. Like, that's it's time for Brandon to go. Like, he's trustworthy, I get it, but like he's the buffer for the other 3 before they're like, okay, now it's time to eat each other. Like, Brandon's the buffer vote.
Yeah, and then like that leaves like Caleb, Sabaya, and Sean as like a pretty strong like three, I think, like moving forward. So I would love to see, and like of course we already saw like Sean and Sabaya kind of like solidifying like a bond over like Hannah's just like crazy paranoia, and Sabaya has that connection to Caleb from the Sweat versus Savvy. So you know, maybe that's like a good like alliance of three to kind of keep an eye on like moving forward. And I think they kind of balance each other out in a pretty good way as well.
Sure. I also, in defense of Brandon with the damn ladder, like, people don't understand how hard it is to swim fully clothed, one. Like, everyone made the mistake of jumping in the water without taking their shirt or their pants off. Like, take the shirt and pants off. You're going in the water. Go swim. Second of all, people are like, oh, the shoes didn't matter. The shoes did not matter. If he had taken his shoes off, he still was going to struggle with the ladder. Like, it was the fact that he was in the water trying to get on the boat, like on the ladder itself. No one else, if you looked carefully, no one else went in the water first and then tried to go up the ladder. There's no structure at the bottom of that ladder. There's no balance. You're not going to be able to pull yourself up as easily as you would just going directly from the boat to the ladder, because you got at least the bigger boat itself to like kind of brace yourself up against. And once Brandon was up at that point, he had a lot easier time if you watched it like closely enough. But like he wore himself out really quickly, and I completely, water weighs a lot. It does. And when you're wearing 3 layers of clothes, it's gonna weigh a lot more. So it's just he wore himself out. That's all that really happened. And people are putting way too much stock. Like, oh, the shoes. Like, no, shut up.
Well, yes and no. Like, I just like I felt like the editors like really doubled down on like highlighting Brandon as this like super big like liability in every sense of the word, right? Like, of course, like he had like the ladder incident, and then he has to like be checked by medical for his panic attack, and then like the segment with him and Hannah, he's saying I'm having a meltdown, and I was like, wait, is he about to say I'm having a my weekly meltdown? Like, is he giving us a shout out here? So Brandon, you were almost there. I was almost on your side. And then
the mascot.
Right. So I don't know, like I just I you know, maybe this is like this is how like David Wright started out Survivor Millennials versus
and Aubrey X. Like
so like hopefully that means that something will turn around for Brandon, but I'm kind of leaning towards no, to be honest.
Sorry, he has a different attitude than Aubrey and David did towards himself. And that's what's really going to bite him in the butt. Like, he's really funny, but like the funniness doesn't come off as confidence or like a personality like flirty trait. It comes off more as deprecation. And when you're constantly putting that out loud to everyone, eventually people are going to believe it. And so it's just whether or not you believe it yourself. So he needs to just take a step back. I know it's hard when you're hungry and you're tired and I have acid reflux issues too. Like, I get it. It sucks. But like, you gotta just take a step back, relax, like try to just breathe for 2 seconds, remove yourself from other people and just recompose. Like, that's constantly putting yourself in that environment without a break at all isn't going to help you, because especially in that sort of scenario where you're basically expecting everyone to be lying to you at any given moment is not going to help with your anxiety. And just removing yourself for like 10 minutes, sit on the beach, just put your feet in the water, something. Just say, hey, I need a moment. I just kind of want to experience everything. Give me a second. I will be in view. Like, just do that. Like,
right. Have you, like, I know he's like big in like the org community. Have you like played any orgs with him or anything?
So coincidentally, I know what high school he went to because his high school is near where I went to high school.
Oh, okay. All right, cool.
I have never personally interacted with him. And I think if I'm recognizing things correctly, at least off of his Twitter, like the picture that he had, but his hometown is close to my hometown. And I have interacted with people or friends with people that are friends with him, but I have never personally interacted with Brandon myself. So bit of 6 degrees of separation for me, but like never met him myself. I've heard good things. Nothing No, I've not played with him in orgs or anything.
Gotcha. Listen, whenever there's an orger, I always have to ask you, Nate, if you know that.
But I have heard of him. His name is like before he got revealed. I had heard his name. He was popular at the very minimum. So it's
gotcha. Cool. So I guess like next let's shift over to, I guess we can talk about like our first impressions of like the red and blue tribes, and then we'll go into like just chatting about like things in the episode. So let's talk about the blue tribe first, because I felt like that was a more interesting group of bandits here. So on the blue tribe we have Kelly, Saifu, Katura, Jake, Kendra, and Brando. So of course, like we saw like the classic, like the three gals, like they're getting together and they're like, let's be like women strong. And you know, Kendra, she's like all about her astrology. So once she heard that like all three of them were born in September, she's like, that's it. Like y'all are my ride or die.
We're all good. And like Kendra is the type of player I would want to work with, because I would find her entertaining. Like just like whether or not I agree with her on anything that she's saying doesn't matter to me. If I'm out on the island and and we're starving and miserable, I want someone that's going to make me laugh. And like, whether or not Kendra is intentionally doing that, she's very personable and I think she comes across as easy to talk to. So like, I think that's great for her. But Katura, oh my God, the balls on that woman.
That was an awesome, like, I thought Katura had like out of like anybody, I think that Katura had like the best like first episode in terms of like winner's edit for like the premiere out of everybody. Just because of course we saw like the three girls get together, and you know, this is like the girls are like, you know, like they're trying to like throw out a first name, but like you don't want to be the one to like throw out the first name, of course. But Kendra, she takes the bait and she says Jake.
Yeah,
and the girls are like, "Oh,
that was an interesting choice."
Jake, why?
Yeah.
And then Kendra's like, "Well, Jake's a lawyer, and that's very intimidating." And that's like Katura's like first red flag. We cut to her in confessional, being like, "Listen, I'm a lawyer too, and thank goodness I lied about my profession." But then we cut to her and Jake like sitting at the camp, and Katura she does such a good job of knowing like what types of questions to like ask Jake as like a new excited lawyer, you know what I mean?
And how to ask them too.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that's like exactly how you play a lawyer, right? Like they're so excited to like to you know, announce that they're like a lawyer, and they're
it
like
almost felt like a hazing
big shot.
A little bit.
yeah, exactly. But just that awareness of like how to like hype somebody up and like exploit them as like in their career and stuff like that, while still like maintaining the secret, I thought was a really good balance of like a lot of good traits for like a first impression for her. So I don't know, like what did you think?
I was living for it. I loved her. I was dying when she asked that question, because I knew like I understood what she was doing, and she did it blatantly in front of multiple people. Like it was just like. And I also equally felt bad for Jake, because stop picking on people for their damn profession. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, just because you're in sales, just because you're a lawyer, A, doesn't mean you're good at your job. And B, that doesn't necessarily translate into Survivor very well. Like, yeah, that means they can argue and debate, but any person with like any sort of common sense can argue in Survivor. That you don't have to have a degree or an accreditation in order to do so. And it's just like especially with like poker players. I mean, like there's a whole stereotype with poker players in Survivor where they are classically terrible at the game, and it is only one has made the jury, and it's just like just because, and people target them because like, oh, they're strategic, oh, they can read bluffs. So like, no, they can read bluffs, they can't read social cues though. Yeah, and that's the difference. And so it's just like, oh man, just stop, just figure vibes out first. I get it's like easy thing to throw out to make someone a target, but it's like, I felt bad for Jake. He comes off as more naive than anything else, really. Like, he seems like a good dude, and he seems like actually like a genuinely nice guy. And it's like,
okay, I'm gonna throw out a random like
Yeah.
comparison reference here.
Yeah.
I feel like he's gonna be like JP from Survivor 35. You know what I mean? Just like a very basic guy.
Yeah. Here's the thing. He's a thespian. He's well spoken, regardless of the fact that he's a lawyer. And it's like, I think he's a cool dude. I would have wanted to work with him because he comes across as like not bright-eyed and like basically bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, whether or not he's intentionally doing so. But it's like, it sucks because he just genuinely seems like a good dude.
Yeah. And did you have any like first impression thoughts on Kelly? Like, I know a lot of people had her as like their winner pick.
The people were not disproven tonight. I think that like she's being included in the correct conversations from what we're seeing. There's not much more that we're getting from that. I don't really have a good grasp of exactly what she's doing comparatively to someone like Sean. I think like Sean and Kelly, for example. I think they're dynamically in the same position in their tribes, but I have a much better understanding. That just could because the tribe went to tribal, of where Sean is actually full like in the middle of his tribe, whereas Kelly, I feel like it could actually be turned on her pretty easily, like just based off of what we've seen. I just don't think we've seen enough of her yet.
Yeah, well, I feel like Kelly's in like a good position where like, of course, like there's like a little tension brewing between Katurah and Kendra already, and like whether or not like Katurah can like really trust that this is like a good solid thing. Kelly's like in the middle there, and that's like right where you want to be in an alliance of 3, in like an alliance or in like a tribe of like 10, right? Like she's in a position that really gives herself options, which I think is good, especially like as like in like these first few days where like it's just changing so much, and like you're kind of like falling into place. Like having those options is good. So I was happy to see that like a lot of people's like winner picks, and Kelly, myself included, she was my winner pick. I'm happy to see that she's doing well. And I thought Brando had a pretty good premiere too.
I don't think it was
very like
bad.
It was very like underdoggy, right? Like you got a lot of like, I'm not strong enough to do the sweat part of this, but I'm being like motivated by like all these like athletic people around me type of thing. So
it gave me episodal narrative rather than overarching narrative though for Brando. It didn't seem like that, like compared to like someone like Drew or Brandon or like it didn't seem like it had a lot of water like for a long-term game. It really doesn't. I'm just getting the sense that Brando's not going to last long. I don't know. I don't get that vibe from the way they're portraying him. I think he's going to last longer than Jake. I just don't think he's going to do well.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. Any other thoughts on the Blue Tribe before we head over to the Red Tribe?
I don't really. Oh, Bruce. We didn't talk about Bruce. Like,
is he on the blue or red? I forget.
He's on blue.
Okay.
And
like, yeah.
Seeing how he like has been acting and including in the preview is that just I can see why they put him on Tika. Like he would have very easily meshed in well with that tribe, and I understand why he fit that dynamic. But it's just like I would not be going into the season worried about Bruce. Like he comes on like he has not actually played the game. He was there for 12 hours and he got medevaced. Like he has no idea what the problems are with his game yet. Like, yeah, he technically got a first chance already, but he's very correct in saying that he didn't actually play the game. Like, I will see how well he does. It's not, he got a very good edit this episode, but like in my opinion,
for the most part, like we could have done without the micromanaging montage that we got, like especially right after he's like, I'm the cool uncle. I'm not the dad, right?
Yeah.
And like him like reenacting like when Emily was confronting him on the boat was so funny. He was like,
Yeah.
Emily comes up to me and I'm like, bitch, what? Like I feel like he's trying to give like a more youthful energy than like what he presented himself in Survivor 44.
He's very clearly anxious. Like he does not want to mess this up. And it is I do like I want him like saying similar to Brandon, I want him to just kind of take a step back, breathe, like you're fine. Like you didn't die again, just you're fine. Like
So. All right, well, let's zip over to the Red Tribe. I feel like we saw the least out of this tribe, which, that's not a bad thing. But like there were a few quiet people. We didn't really hear too much from Jay or like any of the girls really on the Red Tribe.
They're not going to tribal anytime soon. That felt more like a check-in than anything else. Like they were far and away the most safe. I think they won both challenges, right? Or no, they came in second. They came in second for the second one.
Yeah.
And they, on top of that, they didn't have to do Sweat and Savvy. So like there really wasn't a reason to check in with them, but it gave how like the Green Tribe was last season, where like they're gonna be safe for a while. That's the vibe I got.
Yeah. And with a tribe name like Reba, like how can you go wrong? I wrote the same thing. In my notes I had a single tribe who works 2 jobs, who loves their kids and never stops.
Yep.
That's Red Tribe for you. So we did see Austin find the Beware advantage.
Yes.
And it's a new version of it.
Yes.
Thank goodness, because I'm so tired of seeing the same thing in Modern Survivor. But no, so it's like this one has like he said there's like multiple steps to it, and he loses his vote until like those steps are finished.
It's like a scavenger hunt. Like it's not really steps. It's a scavenger hunt. Like let's be real here.
Yeah.
Like so it's interesting. I like the first part, but I think it's very clear that the different tribes do not have the same tasks, because the Red Tribe was the only one that has lettering around their tribe name. If you saw. So I'm like, oh, okay. So they're going to do something different. You're not going to be able to tell who has it based off of a swap, if there is a swap. And I think that means there's a swap, because they didn't make it the same.
But wasn't that like one of the most like fun things about like Australian Survivor this past season was like all of the cross tribal like whispering and like information sharing? Like why would you like prevent that from happening? Like if anything, you should be encouraging that from happening.
The thing is,
producers,
like, the culture around American Survivor is very different than Australian Survivor. Mainly because like Australian Survivor, it's only like 8-9 seasons for the modern era, and in terms of like where they did the reboot, and they're all very aware that like they're a very small group comparatively to other versions of the game, especially the US. Whereas the US is like, oh, we've been through this rigmarole. Like you really don't want to put out that you have connections on other tribes, unless of course, it's an all-star season and everybody knows everybody anyway. But it's just like, I get it. Like you're not trying to. I think that like last season, where they were talking on the bench, that's the closest thing we're gonna get. Like that's honestly. So, and I wish they would do it more, but they're not going to. I don't think.
I know, right? Like I don't know. I just think that's so fun. And like if I were playing Survivor, I would just like if I were sitting on that bench with somebody else from another tribe, I would be talking them up a storm, trying to like figure out anything, and like maybe like spreading a lie or two and seeing what happens. I don't know, just like agent of chaos, right? Like
keep
why
your
not?
Options open. Like like especially with Survivor, if you watch 44, you know that now like tribe swaps of some form are on the table. Like they might just be like very minimal, like the last season, which would suck. I don't want that again. Or they could just be a regular swap, and you need to keep your options open. It's just do that. Like that's a good thing to do. And if you get outed for it later, like, okay, just say like, hey, you can just go back to your original tribe and be like, hey, I was just trying to get information. I was going to share it with you all. Like, so, and I was just waiting to confirm if it was true. That's all. Like,
So you think we're getting like a proper swap this year? That's like your bold prediction here?
I'm not making a prediction. I think that it's on the table. I think that they tried something different last season, but like we need a legitimate swap this season.
Yeah.
It's been how many seasons since we've four, like basically four in a row without an actual swap. Like I don't really count last season as a swap. I think it was just kind of like, oh, let's just stir things up a little tiny bit and give everybody a free idol. Like, don't do that. Like that's bad. Like you're just screwing one person over in every tribe on purpose. Like
I'll say my favorite version of like the tribe swaps, or my favorites, like the season that like did the tribe swaps the best in my opinion, was Survivor Cambodia, when they started out with 2 tribes and then they went to 3 and then they went back to 2 before the merge. I don't know, like something like that is so interesting, and it really tests you as a player in like very different like big group dynamics versus like very small ones too.
I think that only works in like a vet season though, where like in terms of like narrative wise for the audience.
They haven't done that for a newbie season, right?
I
don't think so.
They did for what's it called? Ghost Island, I believe.
Yeah, but like Ghost Island was terrible.
I think it was Ghost Island. I know they expanded. I don't know if they went back.
I don't think that's a good sample size. Like that cast was so like recruity awful. So maybe they should try it again. I don't know.
I think if they're going to do it, they need 20 people, and even then, I would caution against it. I'm fine with like expanding into 3 tribes. I don't know about ballooning back because it can be very confusing, especially for like newer viewers. So it's just like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that one. I just think that we're overdue for a swap in general. Doesn't have to be the 2. They could just put it back to, they can go from 3 to 3 again, like they did in Heroes versus Hustlers versus whatever. But I think that would work. Like mix it up for them. Stop letting them figure out the formula. Like just there's the basics you need to know, and then throw the twists in that encourages social dynamics. That's it.
So of course we saw the return of Sweat versus Savvy. And this is the first time they have not been able to complete it.
This is the best version they've had of Sweat.
I agree. I totally agree.
I
think I missed the first part. Like, did they get a choice whether to start with the Savvy or Sweat, or did they have to do the Sweat first before the Savvy?
They had to do Sweat versus Savvy.
Gotcha.
Which I'm fine with. I think that works better than trying to do it the other way around. I think they should have given them a little bit more time, because that was a brand new puzzle that I've never seen. I've never seen a puzzle that's looked like that before. And like I had a general concept of how it worked because I've seen like rope tricks and stuff like that on like TikTok and stuff. But even then, I don't think that would have been enough to solve it.
I know, right? Like I feel like they needed like a magician or somebody to like understand like how to do that, because it wasn't really clear to me either. But I would trust that between like Brando, Sabaya, Caleb, and Jake, like one of them could have figured it out, right? So I don't know, and especially with like so they had like 40 logs to carry, but between 2 people they had an hour to carry 20 logs each. So I feel like they had like a good amount of time to do the puzzle. I don't know. I just maybe the puzzle needed to work, but it's fun to like see them fail like for the first time, you know?
You also have to put in perspective that the last meal they had was probably like 6-7 hours before that. And the night before, they're probably not getting any sleep because they're excited, and then they're also are dealing with travel and dealing all the pre-game press and all having to be whipped around like that. And then on top of that, they just did a very exhausting challenge. Like I think there's they went right from the challenge to that. So I think that, and traveling on a boat and not really getting any rest in between is just, that's rough. On top of that, and not being really able to decide what I think they all had the impression that they were going to be able to choose, and they just did not have the ability to choose.
And I think that's why Brando like volunteered himself. Sorry to cut you off. I think that's why he volunteered himself, so that he could like get some agency by like winning like the like puzzle element of this thing, but didn't work out for him. But and honestly, like I don't blame Emily for thinking that like, okay, they could be lying about like possibly getting an advantage. But like
when they come back and they look like that, like it's
just keep it to yourself. Save it for the confessional. You know what I mean?
Just like don't say anything. Just keep it to yourself, and then like go up to him and like, hey, like, did you actually just suck at that, or did you have a choice?
Right.
And because that comes across a lot more genuine. So it's just. Eesh. But yeah, no, that was rough. And I think that was also one of the harder savvy or sweat challenges, I think, in my opinion. Like the other ones were either solvable or they had a way to kind of like help manage everything. And with this, it's just you pick it up and you go. You pick it up and you go. Like there's no way to actually like really manage things properly. I think the one thing that they should have considered is that for especially the bigger logs or even like the smaller ones, like get both people on each log, unless they were not allowed to do that with the smaller ones. But
I would assume they would be allowed to, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, like yes, you're technically taking more trips, but you're also using a significantly less amount of energy. So like, especially it's been proven time and time again, if you have to do the sweat challenge, you're probably going to tribal. Like it's been shown every single season of New Era that whoever does sweat, and regardless of whether or not they get it, has a significantly higher chance of going to tribal that round.
Yeah.
So it's just, like
it would have been interesting to see if they gave them the choice of like, you guys can either like both like you can either like split yourselves, so like Jake does like the sweat and Brando does the savvy, or both of you guys can do like one and then the next, like because I don't know, like I kind of like if I were say I was like in Jake's position, right? Like I would maybe suggest like, listen, like I'll do the logs if Brando you just want to like focus on the puzzle. Like in like a divide and conquer, because maybe I'm underestimating the weight of these logs, but like 40 in an hour I don't think is that.
Yeah, it is a lot. Like they were large too. Like those are lumberjack sized logs. Like that's like, and on top of that, I think they also just chose wrong. Like if they had known, I think Jeff did say sweat and savvy, not sweat versus savvy. So like if they paid attention, they would have been like, oh, let's send our two physically strongest guys over there. Like, so, but
I don't know. What can you do? So I think that's it in terms of like recapping like the important things. Is there any other like things that stuck out to you from the premiere? And who's your winner pick? Like, I want to hear like all your thoughts.
I'm getting good. Here's the thing. I know that I said that the Red Tribe was under edited. I am not, other than I think Katura, I don't really get winners equity from anyone other like outside of Jay and Jay, Drew, and D. Those are the three on Red I think you need to like kind of watch for, because they got the biggest edits outside of Austin, who found the idol. And so I would say watch them. I think that's a pretty positive, like they got very positive edits and very positive narration of themselves and other people on the tribe. So I think you look for the narrators, you look for the people who are describing themselves. Those are the people typically who will go far. I don't really care about the who Jeff talks to on the mat thing. Like, yes, that's been a consistent trend. We don't know when they're going to stop doing that. It could be this season.
I don't think it's been as consistent on like in Modern Survivor. Like I keep finding myself having. Oh, it has.
Yeah, every season, starting with 41 to 44, the Jeff has talked to the winner on the mat in the premiere, like every single time.
So who did they talk to on the mat this year?
Brandon.
Dang, I usually write this down.
Kendra, Bruce, and I think it was Drew.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there was more than normal. There was more than usually it's 4. And I think Kendra, right? Did I say Kendra already?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Kendra. Oh, Caleb. Caleb was talked to, right? I'd have to look back. It was definitely more
I'd
than
have to
normal.
look
Usually
back
they
too.
stick to 4. But yeah, they seem to kind of focus on every. Oh, we didn't talk about Sifu. But
he got caught being a little Mr. Tony Vlacho's little spying in the
a bad Tony Vlachos.
Terrible, right? And
Yeah.
of course we got the goofy like frantic like idol hunting in the first episode like montage too. I don't know. I feel like this kid's gonna like overplay this.
No,
so
I
badly.
honestly, if I were on the tribe and I saw Sifu doing that, my gut reaction would not be, oh, he's doesn't feel good or like he's playing too hard. I've been like, he's just excited. Like that would have been like, it depends on how long it carries on. If it's in the first 1 or 2 days, like, oh, they're excited, they want to go look, they want to play the game as hard as possible from the start. Like, I get it. Like, Sifu maybe a little more than normal, but he's fun. He's gonna be really popular, I think. So it's just we'll see.
Yeah. We'll see. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and update our drafts here. So I got a little fancy this year, and I put everybody's names in tribe colors with their pictures. So we are looking good. So this is our patron draft. So Liza and Matt Henning participated in that, and so us, the podcasters, get the leftovers, if you will. So Matt lost his first person in Hannah tonight, but that's okay, Matt. You know, you only need one to win, and Hannah is not the strongest contender. So I feel like he has a pretty strong team still.
Yeah, everyone showed up. Especially like Sabaya, Katara, Bruce, Jay, Austin. Yeah, all 5 of them are great. Like that's a very good draft pick.
Yeah,
we saw first episode.
And then here is the draft that I did with Beth and Scally. So what do you think about these teams?
I think,
and just for if you didn't like listen yesterday, so Hannah and because like we couldn't divide like 18 into 4 people drafting, we had 2 undrafted. So we said whoever, like if there's like a quit or a medevac, then you would inherit one of those 2. So now that Hannah's out, Sifu will go to anybody that gets medevac or quit.
Gotcha.
But with that being said, what do you think?
I think Scally or Beth is going to win the draft. I would be surprised if you or Allison did, honestly. Looking at it, I think Drew is probably Allison's best bet. I think Sean or D are yours, Tyler.
Yeah. I think D is. I was very high on D in like preseason interviews and stuff like that. I kind of wish that we saw more from her tonight.
Me too. That would give me a little bit more confidence with her. I do think she has some winner's equity. However, I think it was limited because of the fact that her tribe just didn't go to tribal. So so that's our drafts. Short little recap. I feel like these like Survivor Premier recaps are always a little shorter because like we don't have like the we don't have
like,
a
the board
big
set up yet. Yeah, exactly. So I think that's everything. So we'll be back tomorrow to recap all the nothingness that's been happening on Big Brother this week. Have you been keeping up with BB25?
I have been keeping up with BB25. I do not watch the episodes, but I do follow on Twitter.
What are your thoughts?
First of all, I'm always a Suri stan. Like Suri's my favorite player. I think she's unequivocally just the best player across the board to ever play Survivor, just because every single time she's gone out, it's been through very unusual circumstances, including the time she was pre-jury in Heroes versus Villains. Generally speaking, like, and then on top of that, she won Traitors, and she spun people around and around and around until they thought that there's no way sweet little Suri could ever betray them, and that's what's happening right now. Somehow she was the biggest target, and now no one was the targeter, and she missed it again. And I love Suri. I love watching her play. She is an absolute mastermind. Like, and people are like, "Oh, she's such a mean girl." I'm like, yeah, you kind of have to be when you're playing games like this. Like, you can't be a wet blanket. Like, granted, like, yeah, you can be positive without being a wet blanket, but it's like, she would take crap like that on the chin 100% of the time because she's used to it. She's been doing this for how long? Like, come on,
right? And I feel like she's done a great job, like considering the anchor that she's had tied to her foot this whole season, and Jared so much. So I'm really hoping that Jared is the one that does not get resurrected tomorrow night. And
I don't want either of them back. Like, please.
I don't either, but like I want to see Cirie play by herself now. Yeah. Like I think it's time to like let this baby bird fly on her own. You know what I mean? I'm ready to see it. And I feel like the pieces are there that like Cirie could easily find a way like through it all, especially if Cameron's like back in the game.
Cam actually makes the game easier for her, not just because he's not an actual anchor to her, but at the same time, it's like, one, she doesn't have to worry about her secret getting out anymore. And two, like Cameron's always going to be a bigger target than her, like every step of the way.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I think Cam has, unfortunately, I think Cam does have winner's equity in his season. I don't want him to get to the end. I think there's a couple people he can definitely beat. I don't want him there because that, like, I would not like him as a winner, because he's actively not great at the game. Like, it's just.
And actively not a great person either. Yes. But no, I caught it on, I think it was either Sunday or Thursday. I was ready to call it that. I think Matt is going to be the winner of Big Brother 25.
I don't know if I think the only reason why he is still there is because he's tied to Jag, and Jag's a moron. And I think that's the only reason why he has any shot. I think if Matt doesn't have Jag, Matt goes a lot sooner than Final Four. I think Matt has to win something in Final Four. Like there's no doubt. If he gets the Final Four, he has to win out. Otherwise, he will get to the end. I think that he's going to get targeted before then, especially with Cam and Cirie's son now both being gone. And Cam's probably going to get targeted before Matt. I think everyone thinks they can beat Jag. Jag just doesn't have any winner's equity comparatively. He's been voted out already. And he's not really good at the game. So I think anyone sitting next to Jag, no one's afraid to take Jag to Final Four, even though Jag has won more comps. He is just so actively bad at the game that no one's afraid of him.
Yeah, for sure. I just feel like the Big Brother like very rarely produces the winner that is like the best player of the season, right? Yeah. And I think that like with the comps in modern Big Brother being so like physical, like I think Terrence said on his update, the pre Big Brother 8, the ratio of men to women winning competitions was like 52% women to 48% men, and now that is in half. Only 26% of comps are being won by women. So like if Matt and Jag really stick together and just kind of like trade off like winning comps and like taking out like Cameron and Corey and Cirie and all of that, I feel like they could get to the end together with like Bowie and Blue or something like that. And then if Matt is sitting next to any of them, I feel like he pretty easily gets that jury vote for sure.
I think the longer Bowie waits to win a comp, the less likely she is to win. Bowie needs to win a comp. She needs to make deals. And I understand. Here's the thing. She is playing the closest to a Franzel game out of anyone in the season.
Okay.
And I think that's fine. I think Nicole is the next closest. It's just that Bowie has people give more information to Bowie than Bowie should be getting. And whereas Nicole has kind of shown her cards a little bit more. And Bowie, I think, does understand that part. I think she understands that she's getting a lot of information she shouldn't get, but she doesn't know what to do with it. And she needs to win a comp because that's going to give her a lot of info. And then she'll be able to get a clearer picture of what's happening. So I think Bowie has a shot. I think pretty much anyone except for Jag has a shot at this.
I agree. I totally agree with that. Yeah. And maybe Blue. I didn't really see it for Blue either.
I think Blue woke up enough this round where
I hope so. God, that's another reason I want Jared to leave. Like,
Yeah.
I like as much as I want
I
to
just
see
call him
Suri.
Suri's son. Like he has done nothing to help the season.
Yeah, and he's done nothing to help like Blue play her own game either. So like that's another reason I want him to walk out the door.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you guys have it. So so we'll be back tomorrow to talk all things Big Brother, and then next Wednesday, I think we're nixing the live feed update shows from now on. Now that like Survivor is back in full swing, so our regular schedule moving forward is like Wednesdays for Survivor and Thursdays for Big Brother. So kind of cool to be talking like both of these shows at the same time for once. It's pretty exciting. But Nate, thanks again for coming in here last minute and just nerding out with me for the past hour.
I always love doing this. This is a lot of fun for me. So I don't get to discuss Survivor very often. I mean, I told my boss today, I'm like, this is my sport. I understand it's football season. I will not be participating in that. This is my holiday. I am going home 30 minutes.
Survivor and Big Brother are my Super Bowl, if you will.
Yes. So no, this is the best time of the year for me. So I'm very happy that it's back. A bit of a lackluster start, but I think here's the thing. I think it's gonna be a fun season. I like the cast generally speaking. So yeah.
I'm on a wait and see mood. We'll wait and see. We'll see.
No one seems like a blatant dickhead. So
that's always a plus. All right. Well, everybody have a great rest of your night. Take care, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.